You're listening to the Fitzy and Wippa podcast.
I think everyone is still reeling from the accident that we heard about in Buxton, 8 o'clock on Tuesday night, where 5 teenagers lost their lives in a crash in a Nissan Navara.
God, it sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it, some of these images?
And I mean, the thing that really... I mean, we've all been in situations before when you're young, you get into the car, driving at speed, everyone's laughing and having a good time. It's really hard to have a conversation with your children just to be responsible in that moment. And even if one of those boys were in the car thinking, well, this is getting a bit full on. I mean, you never want to be the one that says slow down or do something like that, because everyone seems to be having fun, but it rips your heart out now that these families are going to be affected for the rest of their lives.
It's just extraordinary. I mean, to see the friends and family on the news and the images online. And I think also, these kids, they're 14 and 15 or between 14 and 16. The images, I think, have been taken down from online services, but in the paper this morning, you'll see their young faces there and the families gathering, and they're completely broken. I mean, there's one of the parents who just kneels down in front of the tree where the flowers are being laid and is crippled in pain. I mean, the paper this morning talks about one of the parents here, John, whose baby daughter he referred to as Lily, who passed away. And she said he texts saying, Dad, she sent him a text message saying, Dad, can I go out tonight? But he was in hospital and didn't receive the text message. He goes on to say the answer would have been no. It was a school night, but I never got the text message. By the time he was out of surgery, which is why he was in hospital, he then received the news, and it was too late to be able to say no.
Horrible. As
it was the school night. What were you right, Fitz? And I think what was interesting was, if you heard Peter Overton at the start of the news last night, can we have a listen to what Peter said?
Tonight on 9 News, the faces of 5 teenagers from Picton High School killed in a ute crash. The 3 girls and 2 boys aged between 14 and 16 years. If you have teenagers, please sit down and watch the news with them at 6 p.m. It will be confronting, but it could save their lives.
Before we get to the Mayor of the Shire there, I just want to mention that I think, Fitz, what you spoke about when you're in the car and you're not comfortable with the speed or what's going on, it's hard. It's hard with the social pressure to say, hey, guys, slow down, or can we turn the music down, or this doesn't feel right. I think the crucial point to what Peter Overton's saying there as well is don't put yourself in that situation. Don't get in the car. And I remember as, 15, one night in particular where one of the kids took their parents' car and we got in the back of it and we were burning through residential streets far too fast. But I remember being in the back of the car going, I didn't want to be the loser to say, I don't like this. I'm scared of that speed.
Well, it's rocked the area. The Mayor of the Wallandilly Shire, the crash was in Buxton, just around the corner, is Matt Gould, and Matt joins us now. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good, Matty. Our hearts go out to your shire and the people of Buxton, and also, of course, the families and friends. And I know the Premier visited Picton High, where I think the schools were yesterday. Did you spend some time with the Premier?
Look, I didn't get to spend time with the Premier, but I did spend some time at the school yesterday talking with the teachers and the principals and some of the students. And a lot of the kids in the Shire at the moment, they're really having a very difficult time. Losing 5 friends so suddenly is an awful lot for a 14 or 15-year-old kid to process. And we only do have the one public high school in the Shire, so this really is impacting our communities from one end of the Shire to the other.
What do the teachers say to the students?
Look, at the moment, they're just trying to give support, being a shoulder for them to cry on, and just listening and trying to reassure them and give them the support they need. It is going to be a long journey for a lot of them. This is quite a significant trauma that they're going to have to work through. But we are very resilient down here in Wallandilly. We have had more than our fair share of tragedy and natural disasters, and we will pull together as a community and support all of the kids and everybody else that's affected by this.
Is it true, and this the first responders there, Maddie, knew the teenagers? Is it true that, I know it's a very close-knit community and everyone would know each other in the area. The first responders, they knew who they were?
We are an incredibly tight-knit community. I really and yet to meet anybody that either didn't know one of these kids directly or knows someone that knows somebody. When you have small communities like that, particularly when you're looking at your RFS volunteers and your fire and rescue members, they go to incidents all the time where they know the kids, where they know the victims. It's part and parcel of living in a rural community.
Maddie, the other thing is too, you now think of the one survivor, the driver. Everybody pictures what it must have not only been like, but the scenario of hitting a tree and then onto a further second tree. And if that's the case of what happened, we can only kind of try to understand at this stage. But you think about the driver, obviously recovering, has been arrested. There's no wins here for anybody. There's absolutely no wins. This guy will live a life of pain from the loss of his friends, and although there must be frustration from the families if he was the driver, and obviously the evidence there and the conversations with the police were enough for them to continue to talk and where he now finds himself. But it's not a win, or there's no relief for anybody in this situation.
No, look, not at all. There are no winners here. It's pain every direction you look, really we just are trying to focus on supporting our community and making sure that the kids are getting the support they need. Because for an awful lot of people, there's going to be an awful lot of pain for a very long time. And we need to work together as a community to support them and to get through that.
That area there, I don't know the road, Maddie, but is it considered a dangerous area, or cars, or is it a street that has a history of speeding through it, or?
It's a typical rural road that you'll find in rural areas. It's a little bit on the narrow side, but is no different to any of our other roads. The whole thing is just incredibly traumatic and horrible for everybody.
Maddie, for anyone listening, any parent out there that do have teenagers now that are, getting their Ps or jumping into cars with friends, have you got any advice for anyone just to have a chat to their children this weekend?
Yeah, look, reach out to your kids, talk to them about making sure that they're mindful of the impact for a lot of our people. A lot of our kids, they're having a hard time at the moment. So just sit down, talk to them, make sure that they're okay, and have a chat to them around, making sure that when they are driving, that they're being very mindful and being very careful.
Maddie, you've got a big job at the moment. There's a lot of people looking to you, and there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. So thank you for finding the time and having a chat.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, mate. Thinking of you. Sue from St Clair's called through. Sue, the accident's really hitting home for you.
Unfortunately, it is. And it was my granddaughter, was charged with negligent driving causing death, and she was only acquitted on Monday from it. So I just feel so sorry for that driver, because I know what we went through as a family, and it was just incredible.
She was acquitted, did you say, Sue?
Yeah, thank God, yes, because honestly, it was her best friend that was unfortunately passed away in the accident, which she has to deal with herself now. But then on top of that, she was charged. But thank God, but the money that it cost my son and his family.
How is she coping, Sue?
She's such a strong girl, that's the problem. She has been coping, but now the reality will come home, I'm sure. But
the weird thing is, Sue, in a situation like this, if somebody is charged, you have to follow the proceedings and the rules and the law. But what's the point? Do you know what I mean? What's the point?
I know, I do understand that, because in her circumstances, it was definitely the road that caused the accident, and which was proven beyond doubt. But this poor boy and his family, I know I feel so sorry for the other families as well, but on the side of the driver's side, what we went through, and I didn't really realise how much it affected our family until we all broke down on Monday when she was acquitted.
And
Sue, just before you go, and we just asked Maddie this as well, but what's your message to teenagers out there that are thinking about jumping into a car this weekend with friends after a party or something like that?
I haven't got a message, because we've all done something that may have caused consequences, but these consequences are not a thing that is very easy to deal with. So at that time, they don't think. We're all young, but even we as adults do it too, like some silly things. You know, even my sister just said this morning, like, because my family have contacted me a lot just recently because they know what we went through this week. And they said, you know, like, we've all hopped in cars with extra people. I wouldn't do it now, definitely not. No. And I said that to my sister. I haven't done it, but I haven't done it now, but I can't say I have never done it. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a very, very, as everyone says, a horrible, and I keep hearing it, and it just keeps, I'd love to contact the family of the boy,
Sue,
because it's incredible.
Well, yeah, you have a similar story now, unfortunately shared. You know, the mayor said it. The mayor said it very well, in that there's pain in every direction.
I know, I heard it.
I think if there's one thing that we can take out of this, if we're trying to find a positive, it must be in that the sadness of the accident will hopefully stop other kids getting into cars, because
that's correct.
There's no bigger lesson. There's no bigger lesson than what we're experiencing and sharing and living through now, and what these families are going through. You know, if you need to stop kids getting in cars, well, there's no blunter message right there on the front page of the paper.
Exactly. That is so true.
So we know that this pain is not going to go away overnight. This is a long-term thing for you, and I know how hard it must have been for you to ring in a radio station and talk about this, so we appreciate your thoughts, sir.
Thank you very much. It's just incredible.
Okay. Spoke very well, sir, given the circumstances. Thanks for sharing.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Wippa podcast.